I'm basically like, F you, I don't care about Halloween.
Yeah.
That's my costume.
Some games came out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear about them?
Yeah, we reviewed a couple games this week.
I think they were video games.
I was legitimately amazed at how much weight commenters and just the general public put on the length of Dishonored.
Well, size matters.
It does. I get that. Penis joke. But at the same time, like this is the thing. We got asked maybe 40 times in the comments, well, how long is it? Well, how fast am I gonna beat it? Well, how quickly does it go by? And I'm just like, whoa, 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 whoa. What I'm saying is that this is a really amazing and original game and you should play it. And they're like, yeah, but under 30 hours, no buy. Which is surprising to me.
That's a ridiculous threshold, first of all. And people are probably somewhat expecting that because it's a Bethesda game and most of their games are really long like that. I mean, just based on the previews and everything I saw, I imagine, but you know, when they create a whole world like that, and especially in an original IP, like, you have to really spend time in it to feel like you're immersed. And I mean, maybe that time is 10 hours to some people, and maybe it's 50 hours. I think it's ridiculous to forego a game just because it is under 30 hours. But I mean, I think, you know, I think replayability is more important than actual length. Mm-hmm. I don't usually replay games very often just because you know, it's like an ex-boyfriend. You have your fun with it and then you just purge. It's out of your life.
Yeah,
sometimes I still have that X-sex with Fallout 3.
Yeah, it's so good.
And we bang out.
I just think it's interesting because, well, what is the dollar to hour conversion that makes a game worthwhile? And why are you measuring games in hours when like a unit of measurement for a video game should be fun, right? Like you could play a 60-hour game that is the most monotonous thing in the world, and if you think you got your value because that game is 60 hours, like let's talk about Kingdoms of Amalur. I always like to bring up Kingdoms of Amalur when we talk about things like this because that was exactly a video game designed by the numbers, right? It's like, well, we have to give this many hours of quests and we have to do this much, and it was just bland, right? But people were like, yeah, 60 hours, Kingdoms of Amalur.
I mean, there are some people who literally do nothing except play video games in their free time, and they want that to take up all of their free time. And for those people who don't have hundreds and hundreds of dollars to spend, I can see why that might factor in. Personally, I'd rather play a fun and short game than a boring and long one. But I can see why it's a concern for some, especially, you know, like, Dishonored is what, 14 hours?
It's about 14, 15 hours.
$60. Would you pay $60 for a 5-hour game? It's hard to say.
It's hard to say.
It should scale, honestly. It should scale.
I mean, and there is something, it feels different to everyone. I mean, I think we can all like look around and be like, $60 for 5 hours sounds a little steep.
There's so many different like variables here though, because I think one way to look at it is what is your time worth? And at the same time, what are you getting for that? Like, what's the average price for like a concert ticket? You know, like that's what? 30 bucks, 30, 40 bucks. And that's like that's like 3-4 hours. Yeah. And you're pretty much not guaranteed it's going to be good.
15 bucks to see a movie.
Exactly.
2 hours,
15 bucks to
maybe
see a movie.
3.
Yeah. I love that. I saw a great tweet the other day, and it was saying how a latte is like $3 and you tip for it. And there are people who complain about paying more than $5 for a book that somebody spent years of their life writing. Yeah. And you get a video game that is like numerous people have spent years working on this thing, and it's $60 for something that you're probably not going to do in one sitting. And I can understand that there's that mentality of like, oh man, like I want to get my money's worth, but it's like this weird kind of Costco mentality. Yeah. Where you're like, oh, I need like bulk gaming, and it's
like, what are you gonna do with that 5 gallons of mayonnaise when you bring it home? That mayonnaise is gonna go bad. You know, there's like, if I get bored of a game 15 hours in, then the fact that it was 60 hours long doesn't matter. Dishonored is absolutely. It's totally original. It's paced super well. The story is great. The gameplay is great. I can't imagine. I mean, I understand wanting more of it. Like, of course, I want more of it. Yeah. But it's good the way it is. And for people to say, "Oh, well, I can speedrun it in 5 hours," you could. You could also wolf down an entire chocolate cake in 5 minutes.
Yeah. What are you,
Why would you do that?
No, I think it's.
You do it?
You got to realize this is having a very kind of like numerical way of looking at things. That is a kind of a thing that some people do. My roommate, his favorite thing is to try and save money on food. And it's not like he has an issue buying food, but he's just really stoked when he gets a bargain on food. And he'll be like, that bag of hash browns in the fridge, $4. And I'm like, that is a bag of frozen shredded potatoes. You could buy 3 potatoes for less than $4. I beat you at your own game. Like,
yeah.
But he's into that, like that sense of like of value and like dollar number conversion to this kind of abstract thing. It completely dismisses the whole idea of supply and demand. And we always say $60, but in what, 2 weeks, a month, a little over a month, we got Black Friday.
Yeah.
And all these games that are out right now for $60 are going to be like $40, $30.
Yeah.
And then
so if it's not worth it to you, you could always wait just a month.
There's a sliding scale. You know?
Yeah, but nobody wants to wait because people are talking about it right now. You know, it's hot right now, and there's the hype around it.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you bring up the whole like economic, like the quality to quantity value, like the nickel and diming. And that happens a lot in mobile games now, where people are like, well, why would I buy a game for my Vita when I can buy an iPhone game for 99 cents? Or like Square is getting a lot of shit because they're putting entire Square RPGs that are like 20 hours of legitimate gaming fun on an iPhone for $40. And everybody's like, yeah, but I could get this game for $3. And it's like, yeah, but you're gonna be done with it in a day. Like, I feel like people get so hung up in the money, in the dollar to amount of time conversion, that they're missing a lot of great games or like counting a lot of good games out. They're just like, no, that doesn't fit into this numeric value of fun that I have in my head.
I like to think of it as sort of this different, you know, you think of how games work and you get something like Angry Birds, that's like a bouncy ball. You can get a bouncy ball from like the machine outside of Toys R Us for 50 cents, whatever. And then of course, maybe you want like a brilliantly crafted experience, and you want like some artisanal things in there, and you want like a toy, but you want like a really fancy toy. So you buy like
an old-time wooden puzzle box.
Maybe I was thinking like one of those just crazy otaku like hot toys, like Iron Man action figures that the chest actually lights up, and you can see like Robert Downey Jr.'s pores, and it's like you could also get that. That's $400. Like they're both toys. One of them you're probably going to have a lot of fun with because you throw it against the wall and it bounces everywhere and it goes in the road and maybe a car swerves. Another one you're going to put on your shelf, and it's like the value.
I think what you're saying is like you could go too far in either direction. Right?
I think thinking in absolutes for like what is a video game?
It definitely depends on the game. Like I've probably played more of Super Stickman Golf on my phone than I have in some like full-length 30-hour games. But when I think back about on my favorite games of last year, it's not like any iPhone game that I played. It's like games like Journey, a 2-hour experience, which granted was not $60. I think it was relatively priced.
Well, 2 hours, $15. You multiply hours to dollars.
So 8 hours.
And Dishonored's a super great value.
Yeah.
Dollars to hours, Dishonored is twice the amount of fun
and
per
Dishonored
dollar.
and Journey are both games that have like a real narrative. Well, I guess Journey doesn't have a narrative.
You get a scarf.
Speaking, but there is a scarf.
You get a real scarf.
Yeah, they're more like experiences than just throwaway games.
And that's
so I'm willing to pay more for that.
I will always throw down more for that memorable experience, for the game that you're going to remember 10 years from now, than the game that gave you the most hours per dollar.
Yeah, or the game that like cured you from boredom on
You
the
can
bus.
go out and buy a $30 steak, or you can go to Smart and Final and get a $4 bag of frozen shredded potatoes, and there's probably the same amount of calories in that, but it's like they're both food. You got to see it in kind of a weird sliding scale. You know, what are things worth to you?
Well, that brings up the question of, if you were paying, I mean, granted, we don't usually pay for games because we get them for free, but if you had to pay $60 for a game, what would be the minimum threshold that you would consider acceptable time of length?
Well, this is what's interesting, is I've wasted a lot of hours on a lot of shitty games. So
Damn,
now when
kids these days.
Yeah!
We used to have to walk 20 feet in the snow up to the GameStop, which was on a small mountain.
And all they had was a stick and hoop.
Yeah. Man,
and it was used. And it was only $4 less than the new stick and hoop.
Oh God, stick and hoop.
Which pissed me off.
Man, stick and hoop. That thing was so buggy. Because sometimes the hoop would fall over and you'd have to go pick it up. They never released a patch for that.
No.
Yeah. And the campaign was only 4 hours long because it would get dark and you had to go inside because your mom was calling you.
I went ball in a cup, dude, and I never looked back.
Ball in a Cup was a really great mobile game. I like paddleball. That was good too. But there was some weird kind of clipping issues with the string.
I couldn't support paddleball because I don't buy clones. Stick in a cup.